This is In My Lounge Room, and I'm your host, Skye.
And I'm your other host, Damo, and on this week's episode, we're talking about attachment theory.
Hey, Damo.
Hey, Skye, how you doing?
Oh, life is brilliant. We're mask-free.
Yeah, it's a change.
It is a change, yeah.
Except for on public transport, but,
Yeah, that's true.
Probably should be doing that anyway because people are gross.
People are gross.
You ever sat down on a bus and the person behind you sneezes?
Oh, no. Well, I don't know. Now I'm just imagining all those times I've been on buses and trains when people sneezed.
You know, there was something going through the whole, at work, I'm going to refer to, right? Because they're like, all right, we need to 3 times a day, because my team are responsible for this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. We need to sanitize the exit button to the foyer, and we need to sanitize, the taps and things people touch and the pens and this and that. And it's like, what about the button on the bus they pressed, or the lift button,
gross.
or the taps, or the toilet? What about everything that they touch? What about the fact that 1 in 5 people don't wash their hands after they go to the toilet?
It's so gross.
1 in 5 people that you shake hands with has feces on their hands.
Oh.
I mean, that's extreme, but quite possibly. But
it's like, when bars used to have nuts and things like that, and they're like, don't eat them because someone has probably gone to the toilet, not washed their hands.
Do you remember the Lone Star Steakhouse?
Yes.
And they used to give free peanuts, and you could just eat them and throw.
And
they
throw
encourage you
them.
to throw the shells on the floor. Yeah.
Gross.
I don't know what that's just popped into my head.
And then they used to do line dancing on the shells.
Yep. Yeah. But never put your hand into bar snacks because the guy next to you might not have washed his hands, and that's feral.
That is feral.
How's your week been apart from the restrictions? And
it's been good. My lovely son started soccer today, and then he quit it. Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah, he put his uniform on and then decided that he didn't want to play soccer. He wanted to play AFL.
Do you think, because sometimes I think we do this as adults, because a lot of the times things we do with kids carry on to the way we act as adults. And that's actually a lot to do with the topic of today's episode, because attachment theory stems from behaviors as children.
Yes.
But things like that where you make a commitment to something like, hey, want to catch up Friday night? Yeah, sure. We'll go out. We'll be great. We'll go do blah, blah, blah. And then Friday night comes and you're like, oh, shit.
Yes.
Tuesday me was different.
To Friday me.
Friday me doesn't want to do this. Friday me wants to put my trackies on and sit on the couch and eat ice cream.
That's my every Friday. Yeah.
Yeah. That's my every day. So maybe it's that. He's just thought, I do. But then thought about it. And at the last minute, or maybe he thought he just couldn't say that.
I think what it was is that he loves AFL, and then most of his friends decided that they didn't want to do Auskick and they were all going to do soccer. So I think he went, well, I'll do what my friends want to do. But then when it actually came to it, he was like, I don't want to play soccer. I want to play AFL. Yeah. So when I spoke to him, I'm like, but you understand there's not going to be many of your friends playing. He's like, I don't care. I love footy.
Yeah, go with that.
But,
speaking of thinking of things and changing, we had a little chat this morning where I was having a little bit of a existential crisis about my weight, right? Because
that was hilarious.
As you know, in November last year, I had a little accident on my skateboard and hurt my shoulder. I hit a car, a van. I hit them. They didn't hit me. That's my fault. And so I didn't start lifting. I had 4 months out of the gym, only doing cardio. So I started lifting again. You gave me a program 8 weeks ago.
I did.
And then over the last 8 weeks, I've put on about 6 kilos. Now, I've checked that on 2 separate sets of scales as well.
So random.
And they both say I've put on nearly 6 kilos. I thought over 6 kilos, but it's about 6 kilos. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm fat again. And because it really gets in my head as someone who's been obese for a long period of my life, it gets in my head, being fat gives me really negative feelings.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm fat. But then I went, I'll take a photo.
Right.
And I took a photo and I compared it to me from 8 weeks ago. And I'm like, oh, I'm just really muscly.
Really muscly. Yeah. Like it's like amazing. Like if you did centimeters, you've shredded.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yes.
Everything's kind of defined. In that photo from 2 months ago,
I know.
I'm standing there like a Buddha. Like, ugh. I mean, okay. I mean, I'm a big guy. I'm 108 kilos.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Because I was like, right, that's it. We're going to shred you down. We're going to cut you by like 10%. And then you showed me the photos and I'm like, no, we don't need to do that.
No. I'm on the right track. So
You
I
are.
think but I've also got to mention like supplements. Like I do take creatine and I have like my my vitamins and I take magnesium for muscle repair and stuff like that. When I wasn't working out, I wasn't taking creatine, for example. So you kind of, when you start loading up with creatine again, your muscles fill up with water.
Of course. Yeah.
So I'm going, well, obviously there's weight from that. I've also, this is another thing, I've started on casein. Is that how you say it?
Casein. Yeah.
Yeah, because I work out at night. So I have it after my workout at night.
Yeah.
Because I was reading the science of it and it like
slow release.
Yeah, it's slow release in your belly. So I still have the whey protein, but I have the casein as well. So the whey protein like absorbs quickly.
Just to sound like a bit of a nerd, but be careful because they do have sort of sugar syrups in it. It's hard to explain, but basically the fake sugar they use to make it taste nice can also affect.
Yeah, no, I was very cautious to do my research and
Which brand are you using?
Of the casein. I'm only using the INC from Chemist Warehouse at the moment because it was on special.
That's fine.
It was 30% off, and I did have a look and make sure that the because I look at the ingredients and like, because it's like with whey protein, they'll fill it up with other shit, and the actual protein content is like 72 grams per 100, and I'm like, well, what's the other 28 grams? What else you put in it? But the WPI that I use, that's 92% protein.
Which is pretty good.
Which is good. Yeah. I mean, it says 100% WPI, but you know they have to put stabilizers and stuff in it. Otherwise, you'll open it and it'll just be a big lump.
It will be delicious.
So that's fair enough. But so I'm using casein to get me through the night.
I love casein.
So that's helping as well, So I've just had to get my brain into, dude, you've just bulked up. So
and you're looking like leaner.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Anyway, something I want to mention off the board before we get into it. Our social media has expanded.
It has. It's going off.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, in like where we're putting ourselves.
I know. I mean, but it's going off as well.
Look at us. Yeah. So we're now on Facebook.
Yes. So find us on Facebook, In My Lounge Room Podcast.
Yep. And just started a YouTube channel.
Yeah. You just sort of, I said, hey, and you were like, already doing it right now. And I was like, cool. Okay.
Yeah, because I'd thought about it, but I also thought about the logistics of doing it. So over the last couple of weeks, I'm like, we could have a YouTube channel, but then what are we going to do with it? But it was actually really easy because I've got all of the previous recordings from episode 10 where I joined the podcast. So all I did was go back and I've actually been doing a bit of remastering. I'm making it into a video format and just putting it on YouTube. So people who don't like Spotify or Apple or Google or just like to use YouTube can go and listen to the old episodes on YouTube. Also, moving forwards, we're recording video for the podcast. So if you are watching this on YouTube, you'll be able to see our pretty faces.
I know.
We've done our hair and everything.
Oh, yeah. Look at me. So fancy. I'm wearing this cool, like...
I mean, a couple
hoodie.
of weeks ago after you'd been to Rosie's photo shoot.
Oh, yeah.
That would have been a good time to start when you're all
would have,
glam,
but I was super glam.
Just on that, and I know we normally wait till the end of the episode to talk about like feedback and stuff, but I got a message from someone this week, one of our listeners, who pointed out from last week's catfishing episode when I asked you the question, we were talking about, what is catfishing? And I said, well, does that mean if you put makeup on and present yourself as your best that you're a catfish? And you're like, well, does that mean that I'm not a catfish when I'm just, completely
my
out
hair.
of bed and, that's just me.
Yeah.
She pointed out, she's like, no, wearing makeup's not being a catfish. And we know that.
Yeah,
That
we
was
do.
the whole point I was making, was that I'm just doing it in like, presented as a question, playing devil's advocate, trying to put the extremes into it. And just on that, also got a message from a friend, Karen, who pointed out that those things such as filters,
Beards.
the photography, not beards.
Okay.
We agreed. Beards
Yeah.
are not
Hats.
catfishing. Hats. Sunglasses. The selfie angle.
My favorite.
That's not people how
actually.
look at you. Like, this is how people look
Yeah.
at you face to face. So when you do see someone face to face and they're like, oh my God, you've got an entire body. So things like that, things that are separate to someone creating a completely false online persona with the intent of ripping you off or, using you for their own emotional ego boosting or whatever without the intention of meeting you. That's catfishing. Everything else, which is just the slight misrepresentation of yourself, that's called kitten fishing. And I knew in the back of my mind that there was a term for it. So like the whole time I'm going, it's kind of catfishy.
But it's not.
But it's not.
It's
so
mini catfishing.
Yeah.
She's a kitten.
A kitten. So thank you very much to Karen for messaging me. Yeah, she's quite a smart lady.
She's very smart.
She thinks about stuff.
Well, speak on that sort of like focus. One of the girls that I coach at the gym commented on how she didn't think you'd look like you looked.
Okay.
And she said, I thought he was going to have long hair.
Is that based on the fact that I'm a muso and played in heavy metal bands for most of my life?
I guess so,
Yeah.
yes. It's funny though, when I met my ex-husband and I said to my mum, he's a violinist, she's like, she pictured basically a vampire, long dark hair.
Like Bela Lugosi. Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing like that.
Yeah, well, me, if you'd say, and that's why, if you follow us on Facebook, that's why I put those photos up this week saying, this is what I used to look like. I used to be really big, and I did have long beard. I've got other photos of me where I've got like a, the super long beard and a bit less beard. This look I've only really had for a year and a half.
Okay.
It's maybe 2 years, but even now I'm like, I've gone with that shaved beard, but I've always had long hair, beard. So she is kind of technically right.
She is.
But also, let's talk a little bit about presumptive thoughts because you kind of like, and I'm only assuming she's taken it from the fact that I'm a muso and talk about heavy metal and stuff.
I would say so because you talk a lot. You talk about how in the metal like world when we're at a gig.
Yeah.
So I think she's going. Guess what? There's like a tag.
So good. Okay, for those who aren't watching the video, Skye's just removed a tag from her brand new vest that she's wearing, a jacket, vest, hoodie thing.
It's like a vest hoodie thing.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, so, but it's a, you do get used to thinking that people are going to look a particular way and you do create that in your heads. Like when you read a book, if there's no description given of someone and just what they're into, you're going to think about like, if I say surfy dude.
Yeah, long blonde hair.
Yeah,
Probably an American accent.
Yeah, probably got abs.
Yeah, totally.
Or metalhead, you go like, oh, yeah, he's going to have long hair. He's probably going to
Flano.
Yeah, well, that's your 90s grunge kind of thing.
It is really, isn't it? Okay.
Showing our age there.
Yeah.
But black T-shirts.
Yes.
Oh, look what I'm wearing.
Oh, look at that.
But, metal logos and stuff. And you go to gigs and you see a lot of that. But then I've been to gigs looking like this, not wearing my glasses, and just dressed how I dress.
Like you always dress?
I don't stand out.
No.
Because people just can't. Well, first of all, there's people who know me. But like the last gig I went to before COVID, when I lost, because I got down to a ridiculously low weight.
I remember you showed me the photo. That's crazy.
I was skinny. I mean, 89 kilos is skinny for
you. It's like
my frame. Yeah.
Very skinny.
Whereas some men, like guy from the gym, this bodybuilder who started lifting when he was 48 kilos, he's now 84 kilos, and me at 89 kilos looks skinny compared to him at 84 kilos because he's like 5'5", 5'6".
Like my height.
Yeah. And he's a tank.
Yeah.
But he's lighter than me by a massive amount because I just have a bigger frame. Some people like Hunter Cartman would say, I'm just big boned.
That's right.
Like that. So I am. I'm big boned. So leave me alone. Anyway, we digress.
We're good at that.
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
very good at that. Yes.
No, it entertains me. I don't know if people want to hear it or not, but anyway.
Too bad.
It's our show. Take it.
Yeah.
Attachment theory.
Okay. Yes.
What do you know?
We discussed this ages ago, just you and I chatting about it, and so you told me to read the book.
Read the book, yeah.
So I listened to the book.
Good enough.
Yeah, but then I fell asleep.
Yeah, you said that's because the gentleman reading the book had a soothing voice.
It was a very soothing voice.
Yeah. I fall asleep watching certain TV shows.
Right.
Yeah, do it all the time.
All I know is I remember you telling me about it, and then I've done a bit of research since, is that I thought there was 3 types of like relationship styles.
Yeah. In the book,
attachment styles.
Yeah. And to run it down, basically what it is, it's a psychological and evolutionary and ethological theory concerning relationships between humans. Okay. So the most important tenet is that young children need to develop a relationship with at least one primary caregiver for normal social and emotional development. Okay. So I'm reading that, of course.
Yes.
So this theory was formulated by psychologists, and a couple of psychologists wrote a book about it a few years ago called Attachment.
Yeah.
Now, in that book, they described the 3 styles as avoidant, secure, and anxious. But in subsequent studies, they have determined that there are 4 different types of attachment, which are secure attachment, anxious ambivalent attachment, anxious avoidant and dismissive avoidant, and then disorganised or disoriented attachment, which is the 4th one, which isn't mentioned in the book.
Okay.
So the other 3, secure, anxious avoidant, or dismissive avoidant, which they categorise as just avoidant.
Avoidant, okay.
And then the disorganised or disoriented.
Okay.
So, So what's your understanding of those then?
Okay, so secure is basically just you are confident in your relationships. You know that when you're in a relationship, you're confident with the person, you're confident with what's going on, there's no issues. Is that about right?
Yeah, so for example, in the world we know, being like the dating world or just the digital world, let's say, okay, where you communicate through text messages. And it doesn't have to be dating or relationships, because relationships can be
friendships.
You and your partner, you and your mum.
Yeah.
You know, whoever. Someone with a secure attachment style will send a text message. The other person will read that text message and they'll see that it's read and then wait and not panic that they're being ignored. You know. Okay,
so here's the problem with me. In my friendships, most of the time, I feel like most of the time, and my family, if I text someone, I don't hear or message or whatever, hear back from them, I'm usually fine about it.
Yeah.
But in the dating world, I am a nervous wreck.
Yeah. And that is anxious attachment, okay? Because you're wondering, why aren't they texting me? What are they doing that they're not texting me back? What have their feelings about me changed? Do they have feelings for me? You question everything.
Yeah.
And I've got to point out that anxious attachment has nothing to do with anxiety.
No,
it's not like, because I think people will go like, well, I don't have anxiety.
No,
it's not about anxiety. Anxiety is a mental condition.
Yeah, it's clinically. It's clinical.
That's it.
Yeah,
this is not. This is a style of attachment, and it comes from the, like I said, the relationship with your parents. So I mean, read what it says here. A toddler who is securely attached to his or her parent or other family caregiver will explore freely while the caregiver is present, typically engages with strangers, is often visibly upset when the caregiver departs, and is generally happy to see the caregiver return. The extent of exploration and distress are affected, however, by the child's temperamental makeup and by situational factors as well as attachment status. A child's attachment is largely influenced by their primary caregiver's sensitivity to their needs. Right, so it's about your parents. Parents who consistently or almost always respond to their child's needs will create securely attached children. Such children are certain that their parents will be responsive to their needs and communications.
So let's use my youngest son. By me, when he told me he didn't want to play soccer and he wanted to play AFL and he was devastated, etc., and I went, okay, back to AFL.
Yeah.
Let's move on. He's going to be good then.
Yeah, because you have shown him that by speaking up about his feelings, he can get a good result. You haven't pandered to him. You haven't been like a helicopter parent, like that's not what it's about. Because I think people can go, but you don't want to give them everything. When they cry, it's like when your baby's crying. It's that whole like if you run in there every time they cry, they're just going to cry for you. It's like a dog. If you reward them for certain behaviors, they're going to continue those behaviors. It's different. Where in that scenario, he's spoken his mind. He's given it some time because he's like probably thought about it.
I'd say for a little while now.
Yeah. He's thought about it. But then he's been secure enough in himself to go, you know what? I'll tell mum this. And it may have been nerve-wracking for him. But if you hadn't responded positively in that way, like if you had gone, no, you're doing it, this is what you said you're going to do, that would have created a different sense of security in him or a lack of security in the fact that he can talk up.
Can I admit that I maybe threw one of his soccer boots across the room first and then I was like, fine.
That may, well, goddamn, why have I even got these? That may promote a little bit of but see, we'll read further because that couldn't go either way. Is that going to mean that he would be avoidant in that, well, I'm not going to communicate then because I'm not, mum's going to be upset if I communicate this? Or is that going to make him anxious into the point where like, oh, I can't say anything because I'm going to be...
I'm going to have a soccer...
I'm scared to get a soccer shoot.
Just so I'm clear, I didn't throw it at him. I threw it across the room going, I've just spent $150.
But
then I went...
I don't think that's enough.
No.
I think it's more that you have gone, all right, well, you've spoken up and this is what you actually want. This is what's going to make you feel better. So we'll go with it. Now, in 3 weeks' time, if he turns around and goes, I actually want to play soccer.
Yeah, that's a no from me.
You go, well, you've made your choice.
Yes.
We're too far down. That's different. But so it's more about like right now your boys are in another room playing Fortnite or whatever it is they're doing. They are left to their own devices without worrying about you.
That's true.
Right?
Yes.
They're not constantly going, oh, mum's left us alone for an hour or so therefore she doesn't care.
Exactly.
So that's because they're secure.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's good. So you're doing the right thing. I mean, not a child psychologist. We don't purport to be experts.
Let's be clear on that.
Just referencing our learning.
So then why, sorry, I don't mean to bring it back to me, but I totally do. Why then, because I feel like I had a good childhood. My mum and dad loved me. Am I then an anxious person when it comes to dating? But yet when I was in a relationship, I was very confident, except I was miserable, but I was confident in the relationship.
Because you got into it quite young?
Yeah, 22.
And maybe at that time it fulfilled all of your needs?
Well, he could fill a tank up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Change a tyre?
Yeah.
Fix the plumbing?
Don't know.
Or do you need
but he could fill a tank up.
Do you need men from Denmark to stay the night for that?
Yeah.
Obviously that's a callback, but yeah.
yes. But he could fill a tank up.
Yeah. Well, he's fulfilled your needs, and you were possibly because your attachment style changes over time. I know that myself. Like, I'm just going to go back and just explain where I found out about this. Was a couple of years ago. Okay, so however long it was now, I got engaged, right? And the girl that I was with, she was like, "Yep, I want this. Like one day she told me she had a dream that she told someone she was my wife, and then she got really comfortable with it, and then we talked about it, and eventually I proposed, right? Immediately everything changed.
Yeah.
Like she was unable to communicate with me. She kind of withdrew. She said she needed space. We didn't talk for 3 months.
Wow.
Eventually I broke it off and broke up with her because I felt there was no options. And she's like, oh, I need to work on myself. I said, okay, so you either need to work on yourself alone or I'm here to support you to do that. That choice is up to you. She goes, I think I need to do it alone. I'm like, all right, cool. We're going our separate ways then. Now, we caught up maybe 2 years ago, year and a half ago. No, let's say 1.5 to 2 years ago. Just to because, we hadn't seen each other. We just started talking as friends, and she mentioned this book to me and said, are you aware of attachment? And I'm like, what do you mean? So she said, look, I've worked out through reading this book and doing the checklist thing in it that I have an avoidant attachment style. And as an avoidant, I was unable to give you the commitment because I got cold feet. And she goes, and I also manipulated the situation to make you break up with me because I couldn't do it myself.
Okay.
Right. So, and there were things where early in the relationship, we'd been seeing each other for about 3 months, and she rang me up to break it off. And then when she said, oh, look, I don't think I can see you anymore, I said, okay, well, that's your choice. I understand. Obviously, I'm disappointed. Excuse me. Obviously, I'm disappointed. But if that's the way you feel, then that's the way we're going to go. And she was like, oh, my God. She goes, well, that wasn't the response I expected. I'm like, what do you mean?
You expected the begging?
Yeah. She expected to be like, oh, no, I need you. Don't break up. Because that's what people do.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that. And she goes, so all that's done has made me actually want you more because you've just shown yourself to be a very
mature
together person. Yeah. And I'm like, well, that's the only way to respond, because in previous relationships, I've done that whole, oh my God, what can I do better? Oh, why? Nothing. You can't do anything better. It's who you are. You have to accept it and move on and then try again for the next one. One of the things, my dad had a lot of sayings when I was a kid, and one of those things was the one you miss out on is the one you never catch up on.
Ooh, that's deep.
Yeah. And that can mean a lot of things.
Yeah.
But sleep, relationships,
I need
sexual
more sleep.
Conquests, whatever. You can't catch up on sleep. You can reset yourself by having more sleep, and then you get back into a sleep pattern. But you're not going to catch up on the sleep you missed.
No, all those
gone.
Hours of little babies, gone.
That's it. Just focus on the bit moving forwards. So, yeah.
I'm sleeping more now thanks to COVID.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thanks,
now that
COVID.
Now that you're a statistic.
I am. 10% of the WA population have had COVID.
Oh, well, there you go. We have a very small population, though. But that's, worldwide, it's quite a lot. It's actually funny. I was watching, we're getting off track, but whatever.
Yeah, I know.
I was watching Aussie Man's 2020 wrap-up.
I love Aussie Man.
Who doesn't love Aussie Man? And it was what a year. Because 2020, it was it came on end of 2019, December. It kind of slowly started hearing about it. Then by February, it was right, this thing is happening.
Yes.
And we're doomed.
Yes. Zombies are coming. Yeah.
And no one knew what to do about it. Here we are 2 years later going, oh, okay, we've survived.
Yeah.
Millions of people haven't survived.
No, very sad.
People. But it's become part of our reality. So it was really interesting looking back at it.
And we still don't have zombies.
We don't. Damn it.
I'm so ready.
I was working on my weapons.
Same. I was just working on my
the guns.
I was working on my
no.
Yeah.
Don't sprain an ankle. Weak female. Come on, we're in a Hollywood movie, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
back to this.
So I'm just going to read further. Securely attached children are best able to explore when they have the knowledge of a secure base, which is their caregiver, which in your example, your son was like, well, I can now moving forwards. I know that even though mum's not going to be happy because she's spent $150 on soccer boots, she will accept and I can discuss it. I can at least raise it with her.
Yeah.
So that creates security. In general, in return for their times of need. When assistance is given, this bolsters the sense of security and also, assuming the parent's assistance is helpful, educates the child on how to cope with the same problem in the future. Therefore, secure attachment can be seen as the most adaptive attachment style. According to some psychological researchers, a child becomes securely attached when the parent is available and able to meet the needs of the child in a responsive and appropriate manner at infancy and early childhood. If parents are caring and attentive towards their children, those children will be more prone to secure attachment.
Interesting. And yeah, I mean, okay. I'm going to use my ex-husband as an example of, in a way, of how I see his childhood and how he was in our relationship. So sometimes we'd go to the gym together, mainly me, and I'd do exercises. And then he'd say to me, I don't like you doing that because every guy was watching you and it's inappropriate and I don't want every guy watching you at the gym, so don't do that exercise anymore, right? Really, he should just been like, yeah, every guy wants my wife partner. You know what I mean?
I've always been like that.
Yeah, well, no, that's not how he was.
Yeah, no, I've always felt like I had a friend going back a few years ago who would like, if we were out in public, he would get up in dudes' faces about looking at his girlfriend.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
he should have just been proud.
I'm like, man, if you think my girlfriend's, if 90% of men in this room are checking out my girlfriend.
That's good.
And then like, go for your life, mate.
Yeah.
Because you know who's going home with me.
Right.
Whatever.
So that used to happen. And then I met all these guys at the gym who I just like chat to because I go to the gym all the time. And then I must have mentioned them. So next thing, he started coming doing 6 a.m. gym sessions and then said to them, oh, let's all catch up for breakfast. And I was like, this is weird. These were like my gym friends. Okay. And then there was one other thing. Oh, and then another time I borrowed a T-shirt from a guy that owned the gym that I worked at because I'd forgotten my T-shirt, washed it, hung it up on the line, and he goes, are you having an affair with him? And I'm like, yeah, I wash the shirts of the guys I'm having affairs with and then hang it on our line. So that's some of the examples of how crazy he was. But when I look back at his childhood, like he had to play the violin. He had no choice. When he didn't play it perfectly, his mum would like slap his knuckles with like a metal ruler. And so now I look at things like that and I'm like, oh, it's all making sense. Yeah. Like he didn't have that security.
I mean,
don't get me wrong. I'm not getting back with him.
Oh, no. Just taking it from we briefly discussed that last week with his, yeah. So we've talked about how it actually develops as children. So let's look about, I've got here from a website called The Attachment Project, 10 signs of secure attachment in adult relationships. So the first one is you're able to regulate emotions and feelings in a relationship. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You have strong goal-oriented behavior when on your own.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So when you're single, you can focus on yourself and not worry about being in a relationship because, you get people who are like, I can't manage being single.
Yeah, they're always finding relationships.
I need to be dating someone.
Yes.
Need to be with someone to be.
My ex-husband has had like 4 relationships in the time we've been single. I've had, do I count the ones? 0.
Whatever. Yeah. See, I'm going to admit as well, like I have once my ex-fiance brought this up to me, I worked out that previous relationships I had an anxious attachment style because I'm that person who's like, oh, but do they love me? Oh, but am I going to hear from them? Oh, but maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. Maybe I've stuffed something up. I once I learnt about it and I learnt that you can change that, I focused on it. I mean, and plus that was part of going to therapy as well. It's like I need to change things in my life so I can become secure. So I did that, and now these things don't bother me. I'm more this. But back then, 3 years ago, looking at it when I was in a relationship with her 3 to 4 years ago, she's right. She was avoidant as hell. I was anxious, and avoidance cannot be together.
Never the twain shall meet.
It will never work. An anxious person can be with a secure person. A avoidant person can be with a secure person. Ideally, 2 secure people is best. But a secure person can deal with the anxious person's issues and they can deal with the avoidance person's issues. But the avoidant and the anxious cannot. And then there's the disillusioned and dissociative.
Yes.
I don't know much about that.
No, either.
I'm assuming they can't connect with people.
Yes.
We'll find out.
Yes.
But anyway, I'll continue with the 10 signs of secure attachment in adults. So 3, great at bonding, opening up to and trusting others.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing what you're about in life and what your purpose you want to fulfill.
Yeah.
Can communicate your needs effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling like you have an impact on the world around you.
Totally.
Comfortable with closeness and mutual dependency.
Mm-hmm.
Actively seeking emotional support from your partner and also giving emotional support to your partner.
Oh.
And being comfortable being alone and using that time to explore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And strong capacity to reflect on how you are being in a relationship.
So I would say in the last couple of months, I have finally come to like being by myself. Like I've been doing it now for a while, but I've always been looking to date, looking to find someone, desperate. But now I'm like, you know what? I'm fine. I'm good.
Yeah, but they do. You come to terms with that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say where the 3 attachment styles versus the 4 comes in. The 3 are the 3 insecure attachment styles and the 1 secure one. So there's secure, and then the 3 insecure are anxious, avoidant, and disorganized.
Okay.
And they refer to as children, anxious, ambivalent in children, anxious, avoidant in children, and fearful, avoidant in children.
Oh.
So let's move on to the anxious or preoccupied.
Okay.
So a brief rundown of the anxious when it comes to children, or anxious ambivalent attachment in children, is also misnamed as resistant attachment. In general, a child with anxious ambivalent pattern of attachment will typically explore little and in strange situations, and is often wary of strangers even when the parent is present. I've got a big microphone in front of my face. Sometimes the words
it's hard to read.
converges.
I understand.
When the caregiver departs, the child is often highly distressed, showing behaviours such as crying or screaming. And that's that, that separation anxiety, like when you drop them at playgroup.
Daycare.
Yeah. That. Secure kids don't do that.
No, but yeah, that's true. And my kids never did at daycare, but last term, and I don't know whether that's, I don't know what that is. My youngest became super attached to me that we had to bribe him. But I don't know whether it was just moving to year 1.
There's your key word, attached. He had an anxious attachment.
Yes. Yeah. And now he's fine. He's great. Like now he's back to his brother drops him at the classroom and he's super happy.
There may still be certain elements in there when something new comes up.
True.
It may show its head again.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's kind of...
Yeah, just keep...
So
to make sure he feels that everything is secure and the life is good.
Just to go on from that, they're often highly distressed, showing behaviours such as crying or screaming when left alone. However, the child is generally ambivalent when the caregiver returns.
Interesting.
So when you pick them up, they act like, I'm cool.
Yeah.
I've had a great day. It's all good.
But they made you cry because they were crying.
Yeah. Like, so when you drop them off, they're like, this is the worst thing in the world. But then when you pick them up, they're like, oh my God, I've missed you. No, they're kind of like, hey, I took that in my stride.
That's my youngest. So like I'd drop him off. He would be holding on to me. The teacher's grabbing him off me. And then she says to me like, and then it's like the magic step. He steps over into the carpet and he's fine.
That's according to this textbook, anxious ambivalent behavior.
Great.
Yeah. So you need to focus on the secure
making him feel secure.
Yeah. Like you did before with the soccer boots.
Yeah. So not throwing the soccer boots then.
No. See, Billy never had that kind of separation anxiety much because she started going to daycare when she was 8 months old.
So did my boys though.
Okay.
Yeah.
When she got to school, like I suppose pre-primary, there were elements of like, I don't want to be here. But that was more about like something she wasn't telling us about, what she wasn't enjoying about being there. She's also now, she's got other issues in her life that cause her anxiety because she's now at a point where like she's 10 years old. She's going through puberty early. She's different to girls her age. Her learning style's different. She's neurodivergent. You know, she has a learning disability. So yeah, she's coming to terms with that now.
That's my mum.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, can we pause?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry.
No, you're right.
Okay.
So Billy's not necessarily she doesn't necessarily have an anxious attachment style, but has anxiety because of other issues in her life. So
yeah, and then so that's then my eldest is basically the cruisiest kid ever.
Yeah.
Interesting. So with my youngest, I know I co-slept with him, I breastfed him, I baby wore him. He basically, when he cried, he fed.
Breastfed
We did it all.
Yeah.
So he's very attached to me.
Okay.
So.
But not anxiously, because you can be attached, but securely attached.
Yeah, I think he is securely attached. It's just those moments we've had with year one sometimes.
So I'm going to continue on with the anxious ambivalent. Mm-hmm. The anxious ambivalent strategy, as per the crying when you leave them but acting ambivalent about it when you pick them up, is a response to unpredictably responsive caregiving.
Oh.
So they're not sure. Now, if you want to put it into perspective, how old was the oldest when you separated from your husband?
3.5.
How old was the youngest?
15 months.
So he's experienced more uncertainty in his life than the other one.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where that comes from.
Interesting.
According to this, not according to me.
No.
So yeah, and displays of anger, such as ambivalent resistance, that is, or helplessness, which is ambivalent passive, towards the caregiver on reunion can be regarded as conditional strategy for maintaining the availability of the caregiver by preemptively taking control of the interaction.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's how it manifests in children, where it comes from.
Okay.
So let's then move on to how it appears in adults, and I'll see if I can find a similar list.
Is there a survey or?
We can do that in a second. I do have a survey that will determine your adult attachment style.
Okay.
Yeah, but as it's slightly different to this what we're getting here. So anxious attachment styles in relationships, anxious or having an insecure attachment style can be tiring, and you can feel like you're on an emotional roller coaster all the time. It might cause anxiety, stress, unhappiness, and low life satisfaction when it comes to adults with serious attachment styles. Relationships might be both life-saving and life-threatening. Does that resonate at all?
Not really.
Life-saving or life-threatening in relationships, like when you get into a relationship, it's like, I am complete. This is my everything. Do you know people like that?
Oh, yes. Basically, so many people. In fact, I know a lot of people who just go like and they put it all over social media. This is my one, blah, blah. I'm so boring.
Yeah. They probably have an anxious attachment style. On the other hand, the fear of being alone or rejected is the poison, a disturbing feeling which leads to constant doubt and worry. On the other hand, the presence of the loved one and, more importantly, their demonstration of affection is the remedy.
Okay, which is why those people go from relationship to relationship to relationship. Okay.
And like I said, I used not the relationship to relationship thing, because I always would take a period of time. Now, I'm going to say I was in a relationship for 16 years. I had a year of like no interaction with anyone.
Humans?
Well, yeah, but women and dating, nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
And then got in a relationship, that relationship didn't work, and then kind of was a bit not very good with it. Got into another relationship maybe 6 months, another relationship after that. So there may be 3 to 6 months between each relationship. There. So I'm not like jumping straight into it, but I still shouldn't. I wasn't ready for it. People who have an insecure attachment style, I'm not saying don't get into a relationship, because I think I've spoken to people about this before and they've gone, oh, holy crap, I'm having anxious attachment. Does that mean that I can't date? I should try and be secure? I'm like, not necessarily. Yes, being secure is ideal, but you can, as long as you're kind of aware with the way you behave, you can become secure And maybe being in relationships will help you do that because you can kind of focus on those negative behaviors and learn to change them.
See, I don't know. I don't really know about me because I was in a relationship for so long. And then the minute I got out of it, I just sort of wasn't in a relationship. I was just having a lot of fun.
I mean, I was just going to go on to the next point because, like, being in a relationship where you're secure and then it all falls apart and then, yeah, okay, they're having fun. But then when you get into another relationship, and this isn't you, but I'm just referring to the anxious style.
In general.
Yeah. Anxious individual might be insecure about where they stand in a relationship and whether their partner loves them as much as they do in return. So consequently, the slightest disappointment of sign of rejection from the partner could be harmful to their already low self-esteem.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not saying I understand all this, but I think this is good for people listening to do a bit of research. So it's like, do your own research. The world is flat. That's not what I'm saying.
Is it?
Vaccines do cause autism.
Oh.
No, they don't. I'm just reading what's here and what I've know over the last couple of years and what I've learned from it, from reading. Let's kind of move on. I know we're moving quickly through this, but we did have spent a lot of time on being secure, which I think is the most important thing.
Yeah.
So the avoidant, also known as dismissive. Okay. Now, an adult who's avoidant, well, let's go first of all for children who have an anxious avoidant and a dismissive avoidant attachment. An infant with an anxious avoidant pattern of attachment will avoid or ignore the caregiver, showing little emotion when the caregiver departs or returns. They couldn't care less. The infant will not explore very much, regardless of who is there. Infants classified as anxious avoidant represented a puzzle in the 1970s. They did not exhibit distress on separation and either ignored the caregiver on their return or showed some tendency to approach together with some tendency to ignore or turn away from the caregiver. These psychologists, Answorth and Bell, theorized that apparently unruffled behavior of the avoidant infants was in fact a mask for their distress. A hypothesis later evidenced through studies of their heart-rated avoidant infants. So basically the avoidant child acts like they couldn't care less whether you're there or not.
Wow. That would make me sad.
Like, oh yeah, go to the shops, Mum. I don't care. I'll be fine. Whereas they could be fully stressing about it.
Wow. So, oh my gosh. Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
Because they're avoiding their emotions.
Oh, it's quite sad, really. Okay.
It is. I don't know what's worse or what's harder, being anxious or being avoidant.
Well, at least with the anxious, you're showing it, and your
you're
family
still emotional. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the avoidant, like I said, in that relationship I was talking about, they're and what they brought it to me as, their avoidance style manifested in them agreeing to or thinking that they wanted to be in a relationship and be long term, but not actually wanting that, but not being able to communicate that.
Okay.
Like, or saying, yeah, I love you, but then going, oh,
do I? Yeah.
And then the anxious person, which in that relationship was me, would be going, oh shit, do they love me?
Yeah.
Like, what? And then it's this constant, like, it's like this instead of like this, it's that.
Okay, so what about
visual?
Yeah, for those who are watching us on YouTube.
Yeah, you see, I'm just moving my hands forwards and backwards.
It's like when I roll. Mm-hmm. You can sort of hear it in my voice, but now it's good people can see me eye rolling. Okay. So what about when I was dating the American and I...
Can we just pause? I need to go to the toilet.
No, you're not allowed to.
So here's one of those humorous
differences
between raising boys versus
raising
a girl.
Yeah.
Is that someone in your house hasn't lifted the toilet seat up to have a pee.
So this is the bane of my life. Every morning I go to that toilet and I go, what have I told you about lifting the seat? And they just don't care. It's just,
See, we have two bathrooms. Billy's got her own bathroom, as you know. So she keeps.
I apologise.
It's cool.
I'm sorry.
I'm just
I
like,
should have just
that
checked.
Billy, like she was gloating yesterday about how pretty her bathroom is and how nice it smells. And I'm like, great. She's like, your bathroom's gross. It's for boys. I'm like, my bathroom's actually quite clean. She's like, yeah, but mine's pretty.
My bathroom's fine, but my toilet, I'm often on my hands and knees like cleaning up when they just totally miss the toilet
at my
bowl.
house, like I've got a toilet in my bathroom in the ensuite, and she's got a toilet in her bathroom, so we just keep them clean. Although I have had to go in there and like, Billy, you know you've got a toilet brush there. If you flush the toilet and there's marks on it, just brush it, because if you don't, and you come back like I saw this 3 days later, I now have to scrub it because it's gone hard. Anyway, avoidant attachment. The American. Okay,
so when I was seeing him and he's a love bomber, we know that. Mm-hmm. And I went, this is too much, I can't handle this. And I sort of said, I don't want to see you anymore. Is that me just knowing that he's a love bomber, or is that me going, oh, I don't want to get this close this soon? Is that avoidant? Or is that just amazing intuition?
Maybe, but this was his love bombing because of his anxious attachment style.
Oh, definitely. When I've spoken to a friend of mine, let's call her Julia, who dated him.
Okay.
And when I've discussed this a lot, and his dream is the perfect family, but he doesn't know how to create that. And he just goes from girl to girl to girl, ruining their self-esteem.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a hard one, isn't it?
Because I'm thinking about further into like now, going back to the love bombing. Sorry to interrupt you, but maybe the love bomber is just an anxious avoidant.
Perhaps.
They feel that they need to project their feelings onto people because as children, they didn't know if their parents loved them because they freak out when they got left at school.
Yeah.
And when they got back, they're like, oh, yeah, no, I'm cool. And that's what the anxious adult does.
I mean, maybe.
Is go, oh, my God, I love you so much. Don't leave me. I love you. I love you. You've known me for 2 weeks, mate.
Yeah. Yeah. And then me, I'm like, no.
Because I remember you telling me that. You'd been dating the guy for like 2 weeks and you're like, he told me he loves me.
Yeah.
And he sends me video messages telling me he misses me.
Yeah, remember
I've met him twice.
I've sent you the video.
Yeah.
He's like, miss you, mwah. And I was like, oh.
I don't know you.
Yeah. I found that really weird. And that's why I like ended it twice in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got back together, and then it became awful because he was using the fact that he was almost making me be better.
Yeah.
Because he was like, well, I don't know if you're going to do this for a third time.
Wait, but let's just go move on to like, because we're discussing the avoidant in childhood. So with the parents who are strict and emotionally distant, do not tolerate the expression of feelings and expect their children to be independent and tough, that might raise children with an avoidant attachment style.
Oh, I mean, I'm a bit like that with the boys sometimes, but I love them and everything. But I'm also like,
but as long as you're responding to their needs,
well, I do.
You're just raising them to be tough.
That's true. Okay. Yeah.
Well, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're ignoring them and going, no, you need to sort that out for yourself, sunshine.
I'm not doing that. Yeah.
No, that's just mean. They're kids.
And like, in the end, when they hurt themselves, I'm like, let's check. Is there blood? There's no blood. You're fine. If there's blood, then I sort it out.
Yeah. You don't want them to be like just crying over nothing.
No, I hate that.
But at the same time, you're allowed to have emotions.
Yeah.
Like, it hurts, deal with it. You
know.
But yeah, so as adults, these children appear confident and self-sufficient. They do not tolerate emotional or physical intimacy and might not be able to build healthy relationships. What's more, in the workplace, they are often seen as the independent lone wolf.
Oh.
It is, however, possible for these individuals change and develop a secure attachment style. So in my reading and my experience, being avoidant is probably the most difficult to deal with.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can imagine that.
Yeah, it's an anxious person will be going, what's going on? I'm not quite sure. I love you. Why aren't you loving me back? Are we equal?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the avoidant person's going, yeah, I'm in love. Oh,
Am I?
maybe I'm not. Actually, I'm not. I want to be alone. I'd rather be alone. I want to be alone.
Okay.
You know, and then going, shit, I'm alone. I want to love someone.
Oh, poor avoidant
Or
person.
I want to be loved.
Yeah.
That'd be difficult.
That would be awful.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not me.
No. Now, let's just briefly get into the fourth one, which I didn't really know about. So we're going to kind of learn this on the fly.
Okay.
Is the disorganized or disoriented attachment.
Well, that sounds like me.
Mm.
Just with the words.
Yeah. I don't know if that's an attachment style or
Well,
just
that's
like,
just my personality.
whoa. Whoops.
I know.
Yeah, it's I don't think you're disorganized though. You manage a lot of stuff.
True.
You know, so you have your shit together. I think,
Yeah.
like, you know, I think like to myself, sometimes I don't want to do my dishes. That doesn't make me disorganized. It just makes me lazy.
Lazy. I'm lazy
I'm
then.
just like, I have better things to do. And then like today, like you have structure with your
Yes,
times you have
I
to do
do.
things, taking the kids to sports, coaching, you know,
Yes.
everything you have to do, going to work.
Vacuuming.
Yeah, you know. And today, I mean, we all have to have structure, but like today, it's my child-free weekend.
My
I
favourite
deliberately
weekends.
go like, okay, all I have to do is be at Skye's place by 3:00.
Yeah.
right? But then I got a new toy,
Yeah.
and I was like, all right, get up in the morning, eat some food, lift some heavy things and put them down again for a while, and then do some research for the podcast. And oh, look, I got a new shiny thing.
Yeah.
But it's beneficial to the podcast.
Yeah,
So I'm
amazing.
like, so I sat there for 2 hours because time can fly when you're doing like when I'm editing and whatnot. It takes quite a while, but it's fun for me.
Yeah.
Like it's a nerdy kind of technical thing. And so this new thing, and I showed you what it does. I'm sitting there just going, oh, that sounds nice. And then I started going backwards and retroactively putting it on old versions of the podcast. Which, if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you will be able to hear the newly remastered versions of podcasts that we did
Fancy.
weeks ago. So anyway, so I haven't read this before. I have read the other stuff and I'm familiar with it. So this is going to be first for me. So Ainsworth herself, who was one of those psychologists who came up with the theory, was the first to find difficulties in fitting all infant behavior into the 3 classifications.
Right. Okay.
So that's like I was saying, originally there was the 3, then they've
Now
come up
this
with
is
the
4th.
4th because there's this other one. Like some people aren't in those 3. So in her study, she and colleagues sometimes observed tense movements such as hunching the shoulders, putting the hands behind the neck and tensely cocking the head and so on. Interesting. It was our clear impression that such tension movements signified stress. Well, yeah. Both because they tended to occur chiefly in the separation episodes and because they tended to be promodal. In medicine, a promode is an early stage or symptom that often indicates the onset of disease before more diagnostically specific signs and symptoms develop. Okay, promodal. Okay, so it was promodal to crying. There you go. So if you get a rash, that's promodal to an infection.
Yeah.
All right, cool. We learned things.
I know. Go us.
Yeah. Okay, so it's promodal to crying. Indeed, our hypothesis is that they occur when a child is attempting to control crying. So the avoidant child doesn't cry, doesn't care. The anxious child
Cries a lot.
cries.
Yeah.
The disorganized or disoriented child distracts
Touches
themselves,
himself,
go, I feel like crying, but I'm not going to.
Aww.
I'm going to force it down. I think I know where this is going. Attempting to control it. They tend to vanish if and when crying breaks through. They get embarrassed about the crying. They run away. They don't want you to see them crying. Such observations also appeared in the doctoral thesis of Ainsworth's students. Crittenden was the student, who cares, for example, noted that one abused infant in her doctoral sample was classified as secure by her undergraduate coders because of her strange situational behaviour without either avoidance or ambivalence. Sorry if I'm hard to listen to, but there's
a lot.
Wordy.
Got a lot going on.
She did not show stress-related stereotypic head cocking throughout the strange situation. This pervasive behaviour, however, was the only clue to the extent of her stress.
Oh.
So they're very good. These disorganised or
hiding.
disoriented children are very good at hiding their feelings. So it's not that they don't have the feelings, they keep them hidden. And like it says, it's abused children who possibly do that.
Okay.
Because if you show your emotions, people are going to ask questions.
Yes, and you don't want that because your abuser
or,
has told you not to.
Yeah. Or maybe if you show your emotions, the abuse might heighten.
Yes.
Because your abuser might be like, well, I'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah.
You know? There's a lot to read here. I'm not going to go a long way into that, but that's the kind of general consensus. So the departure and return of the caregiver, they don't appear to be in coordinated to smooth way across episodes to achieve either proximity of some relative proximity with the caregiver. That is considered disorganised. So it's the lack of consistency in it that causes a disorganisation, but it's still the kind of that hiding factor comes into it as well.
So obviously, as an adult, then this is all related back to them being abused, and that's how they go into relationships?
No, not necessarily.
No?
I was just saying
Okay.
they observed it in abused children, so I don't want to make that categorical statement.
Okay.
Because I think that I was abused as a child.
Yeah.
I was a bit older though. I wasn't an infant. I was like 7 to 10 years old. And I developed an anxious style.
Okay.
That was only not because of my parents. I suppose for me, my dad was a shift worker.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a huge connection with him because he wasn't home all the time. So that may have affected me in my anxious behaviours. But at the same time, I recall being quite secure, and I'm secure now.
Yeah.
But in adulthood, with the detached, the disorganised or fearful avoidant, it's also called.
Fearful avoidant.
People with this attachment style are extremely inconsistent in their behaviour and have a hard time trusting others.
Okay.
You know, I'm sure I know people like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who struggle with trust.
Yeah. And then because there'll be people who will say, I can never trust someone ever again. And you're like, how can you think that way?
Yeah.
It's like kind of going, when you're a teenager and you drink a spirit for the first time and you get so drunk you vomit your life up.
Yes.
And you go, I'm never touching that ever again. And then for the rest of your life, if you smell Southern Comfort, you feel like you're going to
Southern
gag.
Comfort? It's tequila for me.
Not Southern Comfort for me. For me, for a long time, and this is kind of funny, it was, it's blended Scotch whiskey. I love single malt whiskey.
Yeah.
It's refined. It's beautiful. You drink it with a drop of water or a dash of water or some ice or neat. You don't mix it with soft drink. Blended whiskies, people will mix them with soft drink. That makes me gag at the thought of it, because the first time I got drunk, my friend James and I drank an entire bottle of 100 Pipers Scotch whiskey, which at the time, which would have been 1990 perhaps, it was a $19 bottle of whiskey.
Classy.
Right. So it wasn't...
It was good stuff.
So I got blind. But the thing is, he reminded me of recently, because it was actually on Facebook, where it was like, what alcohol put you off alcohol forever? And I'm like, nothing. I drink Scotch. And he's like, what about 100 Pipers? I'm like, that's a good point. I do like single malt, but blended, no. And he pointed out as well that we mixed that with raspberry soda stream.
Oh, gross.
So we were drinking Scotch and raspberry soda stream.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Ugh, I would vomit just having one sip.
Could I also just other mention here as far as, it was gross.
Yeah.
We drank a bottle and it was 16 years old. And then we went and
When
tried
you're
to
16,
crash
you do
some
dumb
girl's party
things.
and they were like, get the fuck out of here.
I bet.
We were maggot. Anyway, moved on. I'm grown up now.
You are.
So such individuals, this is the disorganised or fearful avoidant, such individuals could also suffer from other mental health issues such as substance abuse, depression, or borderline personality disorder.
Interesting. Actually, I have a friend who is, she's that all makes so much sense when you think about it.
This attachment style can be changed with proper treatment, although the process might be challenging. So whereas someone who's avoidant, there is a section here, this is on the Attachment Project website. I was getting the definitions of what happens in childhood from Wikipedia, from that psychology thing. But it says like how to heal your disorganized attachment. Working with a psychotherapist is the best way to deal with most mental health issues. However, just going back, I think that like the anxious or the avoidant person, you can kind of work on that on your own through awareness, because it doesn't necessarily accompany mental health disorders. But once again, if you do fall into those insecure categories and it is affecting you and you don't think you can, then work on it with a psychologist.
Definitely.
So, it's saying here, luckily attachment styles, my camera just stopped. So that's the end for me. The rest of it's just going to be you.
Going to be just me.
Yeah. So, luckily attachment styles can change, and sometimes the change can happen by itself. It just happens through growth, like we were talking before. A relationship with a securely attached individual could facilitate emotional closeness and a sense of calmness and stability. So just by the people you're attracted to, if you actually start to date a secure person, that'll rub off on you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, dating requires me to actually actively be looking to date. So
yeah, but in the process, you're becoming more secure by the day.
That's true.
And I've even noticed in just the last couple of weeks since not being on dating apps, and you said you've been on dating apps for like 8 months, right?
Yeah.
And then before that, for
forever.
however long. Right?
Yeah.
And now you're not. You are more. You're becoming more secure. Like you're who you are is it's becoming. I'm not going to say better because, but
I'm amazing anyway.
Yeah.
I agree though. I definitely feel like dating apps were consuming me and now I'm like, whatever, I like who I am.
So in regards to that, it's this new experience with like dating a secure person can lead to a shift in perception and to new habits and patterns, and other times you might need to work harder on your attachment style. Important thing to note, and this is to do with everything in life, you cannot change your past.
That's very true.
You can change the present, which will lead to a better future.
That's
my words.
Oh, I like it.
So make a sense of the way that you interact with your loved ones, especially your partner if you've got one. Recognizing your behavioral patterns in relationships and being mindful of them will make these issues easier to solve. Self-reflection is important. Analyzing and making sense of your childhood experiences is also an essential step. So realizing that these past experiences do not have to affect and or predict the present and the future will make it easy to break free from established behavioral patterns and habits. Obviously, working with a therapist on these patterns would potentially be the most beneficial way to move forwards. So, like I was saying, it's really up to the individual. But,
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Interesting. I feel like I definitely fell asleep through all of that Audible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't pick up any of that?
No, like little bits and pieces, but not a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
I definitely had a good sleep those 2 nights I tried to listen.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And
my brain's hurting.
I wouldn't blame people for at this point having already switched off because this is. And we've said this before. All of the topics we discuss are quite serious, but this one's dealing with like some pretty deep shit.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you have hung in there to this end point,
well done.
Comment Potato Brain.
Ooh, potato brain.
And we'll know that you're one of the special ones
that stayed the whole way.
Yeah. So it's something that we can all be aware of because it affects everyone. We all fall into one of those 4 categories.
But it's interesting, just even as a mum, it's made me go, I'm going to refocus, and definitely continue to be the type of parent where I am making sure my kids feel secure. So yeah, okay, I think that's enough. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I was just looking to see if I still have the book here.
Yes, it's in my Audible, but I'm recording
because I know that we've gone on for quite a long time today.
We have,
but I did want to see if I still have that.
Although there was a moment where my mum knocked on the door to bring the baked goods that we get every week. Because I'm very lucky and very loved in a very secure mother-daughter relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. What about things like breastfeeding and all that? I wonder if that plays a role. Anyway, yes.
So I thought I had the book because I thought I had the PDF of this questionnaire. I have it printed on paper. I'm not talking into my microphone. I'm always telling you off for that.
You are. I've been perfect today. Perfect.
Yeah, you have. So I'm just going to search my files. Should have thought about this before. So, I could quite easily edit this out.
Yeah, okay. When I was going through relationship counselling with my ex-husband, the psychologist was really into going back to the beginning. So she made both of us go basically almost from our births. So was your birth traumatic? Did you breastfeed? What was your relationship with as a toddler? Blah, 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 blah. And definitely when my ex-husband went first and his was a very different birth and, being a baby to me, mine was really easy birth. I breastfed. My life was great, blah, blah, blah. Whereas, his was he didn't really breastfeed. He was the youngest of 3. His oldest brother was intellectually disabled. It was basically an accident. No one cared about him, blah, blah. So you can sort of see how it then sort of progressed to being in a relationship and constantly belittling and making your wife feel like a piece of rubbish. So you can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And it gives you a lot to think about. So I really highly recommend. I've got the questionnaire in front of me. It's several pages.
Ooh.
I don't think we have the time to go into it right now.
No.
But I highly recommend to everyone, find the book. It's called Attached.
Yes.
That's breaks down the original 3 or listen to it if you can stay awake.
Yeah.
Go onto YouTube and just type in attachment theory in adults, and there are countless videos on it. You will learn a lot about yourself, and it will help you become a more secure person, which will be better for you and better for others and better for the world at large.
Great.
Let's think about world leaders.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Obama.
How secure was he?
He's super secure.
How secure was Donald Trump?
Don't even get me started.
Yeah. How secure is Scott Morrison?
Oh, don't. Oh,
I don't think he's.
Stop it.
He's quite avoidant. Oh, there's bushfires. Run away.
Yeah, right.
But
election, I'm just going to I don't know. I don't even know what he's doing.
So get the book, read it, look at some videos. I actually just Googled attachment style in adults questionnaire, and there's a PDF. Go through it. There is a series of questions you can put strongly disagree to strongly agree. When you get to the bottom, it will tell you what your attachment style is.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like I'm secure.
Maybe we'll come back next week and I'll do it too.
Okay.
And we'll just share our results.
Is there a link? Can we include the link in the description, like the notes from the show?
Sure.
Okay, I'll do that.
So I just Googled attachment theory questionnaire, but yeah, we'll find one and put it up and people can download it themselves. So once again, to recap the top of the episode, where are we?
We're everywhere. We're all over social media.
We're not on MySpace.
Oh, memories.
Would you be in my top 5?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So if you Google In My Lounge Room podcast,
we'll come up.
Okay. we're on the front page. We're on like the second result is our Instagram, which is In My Lounge Room. The third result is our Facebook page, I believe, or our YouTube. So, and it's all In My Lounge Room podcast. Because if you just search for In My Lounge Room, there's songs called
very
that,
random stuff comes
like
up.
That. So yeah, but make sure you put In My Lounge Room podcast. However, if you're already listening to this, you've got links. So our YouTube channel has links to everything.
Make sure like they need to subscribe.
Oh yeah, please subscribe. To YouTube specifically, because that'll help us with being able to go live in the future.
Imagine that.
So
watch parties.
You can watch it, and so you can see what we actually edit out.
Yeah,
so,
which is a lot of me dancing.
And we might just like go live, and then after it's finished, delete that.
Yeah.
And then just we can put an
no
edited
one will ever see that, but those who are lucky.
But those who decide to go live with us, we'll let you know. Generally, it's around 3 o'clock on a Saturday. We kind of meet. Yeah. And then depending on how much faffing around we do, we're ready to go within I think it took us an hour and a half today.
It did.
Had technical issues.
Yeah. And then my kids. Yeah. Then my mum arrived.
Oh my God, life happened.
Life did happen.
We've all got that,
Yeah.
So email us.
skyeanddamo@gmail.com. Yeah.
Send us messages, contact us. Thanks to Karen for giving me that information, which was super beneficial.
Fishing.
Yeah, kitten fishing. Because like I said, I knew that. And I messaged her back and I'm like, thank you so much. Because it was like at the time I'm going, I'm sure this is different. It's still kind of catfishing. But
it's not.
But in the back of your mind, you know that. So thank you, Karen. Thank you to other listener who messaged about it's someone you know. I can't be bothered giving her a fake name at the moment. But thank you to the other listener who messaged about the makeup not being catfishing. We know it's not. Be yourself is the important thing. Please look up your attachment style.
Yeah, I'm keen to hear what everyone's is.
And if you want to message us about that, go for it.
Yeah, please do. What are we going to talk about next week?
I don't know. Maybe we'll work it out through.
Okay, because I have no idea.
No. Let's try. Maybe we can just sit here and have a chat.
Let's do that. And some singing.
We can just talk about our weeks, Never know. Let's put some songs on there. Does anyone want to hear any, like Skye doing any cover songs? Because every week I put some of my music on here because I'm the guy that does the editing. So I'm I'm going to put one of my songs on the end.
Mine's always like, it's all pop music though. Yeah.
I mean, mine's also original songs that I've written and recorded in my band. So I have the copyright license for that. So I'll do what I want with it. But if you want to hear Skye sing a song, because Skye actually has a wonderful voice as well.
Stop it.
Then maybe we could do a duet.
Ooh.
And maybe we could do that on the YouTubers.
I
don't know. But anyway. We've waffled on for quite some time. I'm loving it. We're not Joe Rogan. We don't have to be here for 5 hours.
No, that's not my point. I need to feed my kids at some point.
You know what? We're not Joe Rogan. Thank fuck.
Fuck.
Anyway.
Should we say bye?
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
And watching. Bye.
Bye.
Remember that I will always be the one to lift you up and carry you through the darkness. And if I fall, then I trust you'll be there too, to help me be the man I want to be for you. Because you're everything I want, and you're nothing I don't need. And deep inside I know this is forever. So just hold out to my hand and we'll live our fantasies. And nothing will stop us, now we are together. I didn't plan it this way, but now that it's happened, I don't know how I ever lived without you. It's only love, but it's like I've never been in love before. Your smile makes my day, and nothing seems to bring me down if I can just think of you. Nobody's perfect, and problems will arise, but I feel with you there's nothing I can do. So please remember that I will always be the one to lift you up and carry you through the darkness. And if I fall, then I trust you'll be there too, to help me be the man I wanna be for you. Because you're everything I want, and you're nothing I don't need. And deep inside I know this is forever. So just hold out to my hand, and we'll live our fantasies. And nothing will stop us, now we are together. I didn't plan it this way, but now that it's happened, I don't know how I ever lived without you. It's only love, but it's like I've never been in love before. And if I fall, then I trust you'll be there too, to help me be the man I wanna be for you. Because you're everything I want, and you're nothing I don't need. And deep inside I know this is forever. So just hold out to my hand, and we'll live our fantasies. And nothing will stop us, now we are together. Thank you for listening to In My Lounge Room. Intro music written and performed by Damo and Skye. This week's outro song was written and performed by Damo and Skye. Soon to be available for streaming on all popular streaming services such as Spotify, Tidal and YouTube Music. Stay tuned for release dates.